Hi friends, welcome back. So what the heck is going on in the stock market today? What's the Fed up to? And is this the end of Tesla? I want to show you guys some things, share my thoughts, and get yours as well. So first, take a look at this. Tesla's down 5%, Nvidia down 3%, Amazon's down 2%, Microsoft down as well. Apple and Google are also down. So a lot of pain in the tech trade. This was a quote coming from the Wall Street Journal. There's a saying that economic expansions don't die of old age. They're murdered by the Federal Reserve. So that sort of captures exactly where we are. And essentially what's going on is Federal Chair Jerome Powell is going to be speaking Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. What's he going to say? Well, that's up to debate. I would say probably we're talking about cuts, these kind of things. Essentially, the bet on the street is that September they're going to do a 25 basis point cut, maybe 50, depending on if Federal Chair Jerome Powell thinks that employment data is not looking so great. We just had that crazy revision yesterday, and it was like the largest revision since, and that's how on jobs numbers since 2009. The other thing too I want to mention with this stuff, guys, is be careful out there. I try to warn you all the time. There's a lot of crazy and shady people on TV and on YouTube, and essentially what happens is that you get a lot of people are encouraging you to go into leverage, borrow a whole bunch of money to go into the bubbliest things. It's great when it works, but when it doesn't, not so good. And you guys know this stuff, but that's essentially what a lot of people are doing is they're making big bets. As you can see this here, this is actually interesting. This was comparing our interest rates, our Fed funds rate, where it's been going lately. We've actually been increasing fairly steeply. Again, the bet the market's making is they're gonna cut. This will be, I think it's like mid-September, the next meeting. And then essentially the speech by tomorrow by Jerome Powell is like, okay, what's the preview? Is how many cuts are we talking about? The bet is like 75% chance of a 25 basis point cut. So we'll see. One thing I will say though is that with this job revision stuff, guys, it wasn't unexpected. If you've been following this channel, we talk about this all the time. I show you like all the layoff news, and I just want to reiterate, just be careful out there. And the other thing too I mention all the time as well on the channel is make sure you're secure at your job. How do you do that? You make sure the relationships around you are solid, and make sure you're always upgrading your skills, because this is how the game is played. The boss says, hey, we got to tighten the belt, sales are down, take a look at your team and you got to trim some people, right? And then the boss, direct manager or your direct report, whatever, is going to do that. And they're like, okay, who do I need? Who's necessary for business and who's not necessary? And essentially you want to be one of those essential / necessary people. So I mentioned the job stuff because, guys, I really know it's extremely important. And the other thing too I want to mention as well is like, the Fed, they're looking to control inflation and make sure job numbers are there. It's not necessarily just the Fed alone. And I know that when we talk about the market that we concentrate on the Fed, but you have to understand we're part of a global macroeconomic system. So, for example, if people in China don't have jobs and the real estate market is crashing, like, do you expect them to buy iPhones and houses, right? Maybe not. Also too, if they're, I'm using the example of China because it's a second largest economy. If their domestic companies can offer you, cheaper products, cheaper phones, cheaper cars that are great in quality, why would I want to buy the overpriced stuff like a Tesla? Why would I, right? Well, that's essentially what's going on. And, moreover, Mr. Musk, and we're talking about this, is this the end of Tesla? He's like, been making oodles of cash, right, in his other companies. And people are like, oh my God, you're making all this money the other place. Everything you touch is golden. But, eras change, when interest rates are zero and everyone's using leverage and everything is great. Yeah, fantastic. But sometimes, though, you actually have to deliver on the things that you promise. And the Twitter situation, this was a big story that came out recently. And it essentially, I've been talking about this the last couple of days, but it's huge. Essentially, like, the banks had to cut their employee compensation, right? The bankers are like, yo, you're starting to lose us money, and we lent you $13 billion to buy Twitter. Plus he's in for another $30 billion to other group of people, which is actually even more crazy. This was released just a few hours ago. Basically there was a judge that said, hey, you got to tell us who's in the money situation with Twitter. And I'll just tell you, the list looks like this. It's a court filing. There's a long list of names, but what you're dealing with here, guys, I'm talking about the end of Tesla, maybe end of Elon Musk, and, well, you can define how you want to think about end. But I'll just say there is Saudi money involved with this stuff, and there is Qatar money involved with this stuff, called Middle East oil money. Guys, I'm sure don't mess with that kind of money, and especially don't lose those people that kind of money. This was actually back in couple years ago, I think this is the prince over in Saudi. He's saying here, I don't believe that the proposed offer, talking about Elon buying Twitter, I don't believe the proposed offer by Elon Musk at 54.20 comes close to the intrinsic value of Twitter, given its growth prospects, being one of the largest holders of Twitter, and that was coming from the kingdom. I reject this offer. So he's like, dude, don't buy Twitter. Please get out of it. And Elon Musk is like, no, but we gotta buy Twitter. And this was back in April of 2022. He says, Elon Musk replied, interesting. Just two questions, if I may. How much of Twitter does the kingdom own, directly and indirectly? And what are the kingdom's views on journalistic freedom of speech? It's like, okay. This is probably one thing you'll never hear in public is Elon Musk trash talk Saudi Arabia or Qatar. And if you guys got any video or audio of him trash talking that, and the other thing he will never trash talk is China. Because I'll just tell you guys, when you lose people, we're talking about billions of dollars, not millions, right? Millions is small. It's chump change of these kind of people. We're talking losing billions of dollars to people, again, Saudi and Qatar. I would say look out. And if you don't think billionaires are untouchable, you got another thing coming. This is Jack Ma. He actually disappeared because he ticked off the government in China. And basically, and I admire Jack Ma. It's pretty funny. He went from nothing and was able to build up Alibaba. And if you ever see that speech on the internet where he's like talking to his employees of like, why can't we be as good as the companies in Silicon Valley? Like, why not? And I thought how can I say? I understand the sentiment that he was trying to say. And he actually tried to make a school to train other entrepreneurs, but the government is like, yo, you're getting too much, too big for your britches, essentially. And he disappeared, and then you get these weird reports every now and then of like, hey, he's still alive, because like we didn't know where he was. And so this is the question, is like with the Mr. Musk situation, as more and more people leave ship. This was just came out yesterday. Tesla finance VP departs and latest executive exit. Right, like how long can this charade last with Elon Musk? And I want to put this stuff in context, guys, because this will help you understand the market. We had a lot of crazy money printing. We were all home in the pandemic, right? We're all playing on our phones, buying cryptos and dog coins, and Elon Musk pumping said things, right? And, essentially you had a lot of bubble stocks, bubble companies. The thing is, though, usually in a normal company with a normal board who is separate from the CEO, because remember the Musk situation, he has the board in his pocket, but usually they'll kick you out if things start going poor, right? So the Zillow CEO, and I'm just showing you some examples. Zillow CEO is out recently. This was just reported today. Nestle CEO is out. They had some crazy thing, and if anyone's in France, you guys can share, but they were doing something funky with like water. It said then this year, Nestle was investigated by French regulators for using illegal purification techniques on bottled mineral water. So I have no idea. If you guys have any info on that, please let me know. But point being, though, normal companies, they just boot you. If it's time to go, it's time to go. The Musk situation is so fascinating. It's like, how is this guy still in power? But it could be. It could be he's lost a bunch of people, a whole bunch of money, and they're trying to like keep it pumped up until he can get that money back. For example, Morgan Stanley, who Musk owes a bunch of money to, they keep pumping up the price of Tesla. Say, oh my God, guys, Tesla's gonna go like to $500, $600, $1,000. They keep giving those ludicrous numbers. But essentially, it's because they need that price to be elevated so Musk can sell it to pay them back. But moreover, like I was saying, normally if things go bad, you just replace. Like, for example, Starbucks replaced their CEO, which was crazy enough was with the Chipotle CEO, same person, right? So the dude leaves Chipotle, goes to Starbucks. Or if you're doing a bunch of shady stuff, usually you get out legally. So, for example, over at Archegos, he had this Bill Wong guy. And I'm just kind of illustrating this stuff to sort of walk you through the era that we've been in. It's basically a bubble, right? So this guy was like borrowing a bunch of money, buying a bunch of stocks, using those stocks on borrowed money to borrow yet more money. That's what it was. It's all a leverage game. Or you have this kind of crazy thing. And this goes back to the Tesla situation and Elon Musk of like, how long can this person keep playing the music? So Kathy Wood is the headline. August 19th, 2024. Kathy Wood is buying tons of this hot artificial intelligence stock, and it might surprise you. It's like, oh my God, what is that stock? I want to know what that stock is. And essentially, I'm showing you this because much of what you see on YouTube, Wall Street, etc., is marketing, right? They get you hyped up, excited. And the question I pose to you is like, how long can this stuff go on? If you look at Kathy Wood's ARK fund, this is their main one, the RKK. The last 5 years, it's basically flat. So, hey, kudos to them. They're up 1.7% in the last 5 years. But If you bought at the top, you're down 71%. So, obviously this is just numbers, and normally like you'd be gone as a fund manager, but I guess you keep the party going. Part of the party, and this is kind of interesting, this is one of the Kathy Woodstocks, Peloton, they essentially were up big today, up 40%, but they're still losing money. Essentially, like these kind of stocks people are trading. That's what that shows you. And you also just have a lot of volatility in the market. But I want to point out something really important. I think this is probably one of the biggest stories coming out of the market in just in the last couple of weeks. Warren Buffett selling half his Apple stake. That is huge, right? And does Warren Buffett know something that we don't? Well, I go over the Apple news all the time with you guys, and we get the news maybe a week later, or maybe 2 weeks later than Buffett, or maybe who knows, maybe he knows a year in advance. But like this is the kind of news. So he's selling, 2 weeks ago, and then we get this breaking today that the Apple's App Store, like their head person, is leaving. And then there's like, hey, I was with the company. It was, let's say, 21 years at Apple, and it's time for him to go. If you don't know, the Apple App Store, they make a lot of money on that stuff, right? And they've been under investigation both the U.S. and in Europe, because essentially is, do they have a monopoly or not? Here's another one. This is really interesting. This is like a week ago, right? Read the headline. Snowflake stock drops as Buffett sells stake. So does Warren Buffett know something that we don't know about Snowflake? And then we get this headlines today. Snowflake gives outlook that fails to calm investors on AI. And what do you guess? The stock is dropping. So I'll just say this. When Mr. Buffett is selling, he probably knows something. Moreover, when he's holding a whole bunch of cash, which he's holding like record levels of cash, he knows something. And also too with the Mr. Buffett situation, he's been in this game an awful long time, and he's really good at this game. And essentially, don't throw all your eggs in one basket, and be willing to essentially change your position on things, because you got to adjust to what the market is giving you. I understand, right? For some people who are over leveraged, you want that Elon Musk stuff to go up forever, but it's tough. Let me read some comments from the community, because not everyone necessarily falls for the Musk or the bubble economy stuff. This is a comment coming in from Ivan 3 minutes ago. Elon Musk has made many promises over many years, and oddly enough, none of them happened. So he makes more promises, but this he is not lying to us, right? Some people believe that. Now, if you believe him, I have a bridge for sale, and I will put your name on it. I will add the cost of doing this for free. Why? Because I love for no reason. What? So everyone, right? Hugs and kisses, and I am just the best guy here. So I always love the comments in our community. Here's another one from the Mr. Guy. Here's an idea. Don't use Twitter as a way to get personal attention. Don't fill it with people who are banned for being horrible. Don't cater to those people, and don't ignore the advertisers. Definitely don't tell them to advertise and to go F themselves. And guys, it's funny to talk about all this stuff together, because we're not just talking about the Fed, we're not just talking about the economy, we're not talking about jobs. We're also talking about like individual stocks, because they're connected. And Tesla represents sort of the kind of the figurehead of the bubble that we've been in. And I posed a question for you early. Is this the end of Tesla? This is an interesting one. This is breaking news right now. GM-owned Cruise will partner with Uber to offer driverless rides. Now, it's crazy, right? If you remember that Elon Musk is trying to pitch you that either robotaxis and they're going to sell robots and going to be awesome. They are well behind the game, right? So Waymo's ahead of them, and now Cruise partnering with Uber. We'll see how that goes. My personal opinion, though, is that I don't need a robot taxi. I'm fine with a human. A human can do human stuff. They can talk to other humans, and they can, drive safely. We'll see if this goes anywhere. But this also represents too that people are always going to try to sell you something. That's Wall Street. That's how the game is played. And again, don't put all your eggs in one basket. This is what they're saying over there. This is at Cruise and Uber. It says, Cruise is on a mission to leverage driverless technology to create safer streets and redefine urban life. We're excited to partner with Uber to bring the benefits of a safe, reliable, autonomous driving to even more people, unlocking the new era of urban mobility. And then Uber, they say, thrilled to partner with Cruise and look forward to launching next year. And I want to bring this up as well, is that we're also in election year. What's going to happen in the election? I mean, who knows? I'll just say Harris is leading in the polls, but we still have a debate, and I think Trump could theoretically pull a rabbit out of his hat. You never know. That's why you essentially, whatever your opinion is, go out and vote. One thing I will say, though, is that sentiment did tick up a little bit, thinking that Harris could win. But, and I just want to be real clear on this, don't necessarily think either Harris or Trump will get into office and suddenly, wave their magic wand and everything will be solved for you in your life. I'm being really sincere on this, and just take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of yourself first. Sure, maybe there'll be policies that change a few things here and there, but don't expect them to change, everything overnight in one day. It's got to get through Congress, etc. And even whatever changes they make, maybe it affects you a little bit, right? You still got to take care of yourself. Make sure you have job skills. Make sure you have good relationships at work. Make sure you're diversifying your investment. Invest in the S&P 500. Pay off your debts, right? Put some money into bonds. Hold some cash. It's not crazy. You essentially always be prepared for the storm. And I understand if you got in the market for the first time during COVID and you're like, oh my God, my dog coins, everything goes up, right? It seems awesome, but I just don't. My personal opinion is I don't think we can print money forever and expect things to just go up into infinity. It's just that how long can this music go? And this is an interesting headline that really captures where we are. It just came out today. U.S. home sales edge up in July. Prices still record highs. And if anyone, you guys know this, if you live in any of the sort of, I call them bubble cities, be it your LA, Tokyo, London, I can talk about Seoul, Korea, any of these like major cities, you'll know real estate's like ludicrously high and through the roof. And like, how much higher can this thing possibly go? And one of the numbers you always want to look at is like, median income to median home price. And the US one keeps ticking up. I think we're like in the USA, like between 7 and 8. But if you look at, some places and cities where it's like ludicrously high, the cost of the home compared to median income is more like 20, 22. So the US theoretically could push up even higher, but where's that money going to come from? And this is sort of why, when I look at layoffs going around and I look at where interest rates are, and I also look at the delinquencies, all kinds of things, I just feel like we're in a bubble and things need to cool off. I know there's going to be a lot of pain, and essentially everyone's like screaming for Powell to cut rates and start printing that money again. But if you want to, keep inflation under control and just sort of try to be neutral and keep everything level, right? Don't make any drastic moves. And essentially, I think what's going on with his speech tomorrow, he's going to lay out his plan and say, hey, this is what's up. Home prices, I guess they went up, 4.2% over last year. So they're still increasing. Because sometimes when people say that inflation is coming down, it doesn't mean that prices are necessarily decreasing. It just means that the rate of increase is slowing. And in fact, some people say, well, guy, don't we want some like price declines? Not necessarily. Deflation can be a negative thing. So for example, in China, they have housing deflation, and essentially is like, think of it this way. If you know something's going to be cheaper, you wait. Okay. And by waiting, things get even more cheaper. You keep waiting. And if people are like underwater on their loans or their wealth is tied into real estate, I'm just using a real estate example, it can create a negative spiral. So you don't necessarily want like massive deflation. And that's sort of what we're talking about here. So Fed's trying to get that soft landing, right? Bring the things down, cool things off without going to a hard crash. And I'm just showing you guys the housing market here. The reports that it ticked up a bit in July, but you got to look at this, pull out a little bit and look at the larger picture and see that we're still kind of where we were before, just up it a bit. But the key though is that prices are still high, right? And I think you guys know this on many things. Prices are still high. People are concerned about their jobs, and you have to go to the grocery store every day, and prices are high there. So anyway, I know I talk about a lot in every video, but I like to give you guys a full picture about everything, be it the market, be it your Teslas or otherwise. So always appreciate your time. Please share your thoughts, and I'll catch you on the next video.